in this fashion. Right? I'm using that area of the finger, and I'm kind of rotating and producing up glide right there. So if I determine that there's some stiffness right there, I'm going to start in a neutral position, and I'm going to use my finger, I'm going to use my index finger here to kind of grab onto the articular pillar. So I'm posterior, right, and I'm kind of around the transverse process, and I'm really kind of putting my finger over the right side of her articular pillar. That's where I'm kind of making hand contact. I'm on the right side. I'm off to the spinous process. I'm on the right side of her neck right now, posteriorly. And I almost think I'm using kind of this hook grip, right, where I'm going to kind of hook with that index finger around that vertebrae. And I'm going to then, as I rotate her head, right, both hands are going to rotate her head, but this hook is going to hook on and pull. Right? So I'm kind of like both hands are rotating to the left, but this hook on that articular pillar is going to kind of pull up and basically try to move that segment that I'm on up. Okay? So the force direction of that mobilizing hand, the force direction, is toward her eye. You're going to see some people do transverse moves where they're pushing transversely, but if we obey really the true orientation of those facet joints, we're looking more at an up-glide translation. So we're going to kind of pull this. I think about pulling it, so I'm going to pull that segment up toward her eye. All right, so what it looks like is we're here like this. See if she has anything. So this one's a little tighter than the other ones right here. So I'm going to hook on that. I have her in neutral. Now both hands together are going to turn her. Right? Now the trick is, I'm moving down to that segment. Now I begin to feel motion occur under that hook. And once I'm there, I even position myself like this sometimes, and I'll kind of come over, and now I hook, and now I oscillate. So I can think about my grades of mobilization. But I'm not coming straight across this way, I'm coming up this way. And you know that because I'm kind of leaning, you can almost see my arm, how I'm kind of pulling that segment with me. I'm kind of pulling this direction. Common mistakes. Sometimes we're neutral and we try to do this. So we really have to get that patient all the way to the point where actually that motion restriction engages. And that's where I feel the restriction, where it starts to tighten up. That's the point that I'm going to apply, and I'm just kind of going into overpressure. So I'm really kind of taking her hand into that, or her head into that end range rotation position. The challenge for all of you is relatively, you guys are normal. So I mean, you know, for sure here, I'm like all the way over here before I even really engage that barrier. Right? Don, my patient from yesterday, we were here when I was engaging that barrier, and it felt much different. It was much different. So I'm mobilizing him here, right? You guys, it's hard because you're not going to feel any really barrier until you get way over here. So just kind of appreciate that. You know, you're dealing with relatively normal necks here, so you're not going to feel those restrictions quite as easily. But make sure you take all the slack up, and when you start to feel, it's like you're screwing something, and all of a sudden it kind of locks down. When that locks down, that's where you start mobilizing. Okay?